back to another video. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to build a kicker. So this one's going to be about 3 foot tall, about 5 foot in length. So I don't know if you remember when you were little, you probably had a little plastic ramp that you get off like Amazon or something. You probably hit it the first time and it would just shatter. That's what mine did. And the reason why this one's going to be so big is we want to take our pit bike and our mountain bike off of it. Just kind of make sure it's long enough, basically longer than the bike is, so you don't endo off of it. But yeah, I'm going to take you through it and I'll show you every single cut, kind of every single measurement, like every 2x4 we cut. Make sure you know everything, because by the end of this you should know how to build one of these. At any point in the video, I would say, you know, pause it and kind of just, I don't know, rewatch it, make sure you get everything when you're building this. And yeah, I hope that you guys enjoy this video, and please like and subscribe.
So the first step of making your kicker is planning out how long you want it to be and how tall you want it to be. In this video, we are making our kicker 5 foot long and 3 foot tall. So what we did was we marked the 5 foot mark on the piece of plywood, and then over here we marked the 3 foot mark of the plywood. You may notice that we have a piece of wood here. That is just so that we can cut off the radius that continues, so it's not an abrupt spike and it's flat, and we can just do more tricks on it and stuff. The next step after measuring out the length of the kicker and the height of the kicker is to plan out the radius. For this ramp that we're making, the radius is 119 inches, and the way that we find that out is by placing a 2x4, a screw, and then tying a string around it. Once you do that, you tighten the string up, tie a pencil to it so that you can actually draw, and then after that you pull the string tight, and it should line up perfectly with your 5 foot mark and your 3 foot mark. Alright, so after you get done drawing your radius, the next step is to cut it out. Normally, I call this a jigsaw, but it says Sawzall on it, so I'll call it a Sawzall. So, the first step is to get your Sawzall, or jigsaw, or whatever you want to call it. You know, let's call it a jigsaw. Only weirdos call it a Sawzall. So get your jigsaw, and then just start cutting it. Jigsaw. Decently straight. It's good enough. You can always file it down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So yeah, once you cut it, you're gonna notice that there's a lot of like fraying. You literally just go grab a file and then you just go across the edges to get rid of it. But yeah, that's how tall the kicker's gonna be.
Hip height.
Yeah, perfect. That's 3 feet.
Yeah.
Go golden, baby. All right, so after you cut it out, you grab just a random file that you can find in your garage or something, and you just go across the edges to get rid of all the fraying that is from the jigsaw, which it basically just cleans up your cut. So I'd highly recommend just doing this. It takes a couple seconds, so it's not that bad. There we go, nice and clean. Ready for a board to be laid on it.
Sir, look at this. Look what we have going on here.
Oh my god, it's chaotic.
The lighting's really bad in this garage, so we have a ladder, a big ass light on top, and we got a little light that I have to hold while he's cutting.
Man, if only one of our viewers was a baddie that could hook us up with a TikTok ring light.
Yeah. No! Fuck!
There's nothing to jump off of.
There it is. It's right there.
Yeah, but that's gonna kick our light down. You know what? Just film
Just
the
go
board.
to the top and jump down here.
I like my ankles. Oh. Oh. Alright, so after you cut out your first radius, the next step is to mirror it onto the other side of the plywood, line it up on both edges, and then trace it to get an identical copy of it. So all you do is you just line the height of it and the length of it. Try and make it as perfect as possible. Don't let it overlap. in any way, just make it nice and flat, and then you just grab a wood pencil, angle it towards the upper plywood, and then just trace along the entire thing, and it should give you a nice dark line that you can follow with your jigsaw. After you finish drawing your line, move the upper part of the plywood away, and you'll notice how nice and dark that line is, and it should be really easy to follow with that jigsaw. So we're gonna go and cut this next one, and then we'll cut right back to both of them, and then we'll start building up the frame. All right, so we didn't tell you in the last one, but what you want to do is you want to stack 2 2x4s underneath the plywood that you're cutting so that your jigsaw blade doesn't hit the concrete. You know, it's better if you were to do 3, because you can obviously tell that if you do it straight up and down, it still doesn't touch the plywood. So you can do 3 or 2 or just whatever you like. If you're doing it outside, you can just do 1. But we like to do 2 while we're in the garage because we don't want to damage the concrete in here. And yeah, that's about it. Also, when you cut out your top part, what I like to do is I like to go in at another angle so that I don't have to spin the blade around right here, which would mess up how nice the cut is right here. So just head in a little bit above that cut that you just made, head in at an angle. Knock it out, and now you have a good area to angle your blade to get the angle that you need to go all the way down this line.
Boom, that's what I do.
Let's go, baby. Also, you get really lightheaded when you're blowing all the sawdust out, so stand up really slowly. Could you notice how lightheaded I got? Oh my god. That's the worst part of using the jigsaw. Blowing and then just getting lightheaded as shit. I hate that part so much. Not a sawzall. Don't call it a fucking sawzall. Don't call it a fucking sawzall.
I'm starting to see a trend.
What?
First it's the sawzall.
No, first it's Arkansas. Also, let's get back into it. Fuck Arkansas right above me again.
Because we fucking hate Arkansas.
We're not going to talk about it this much in this video, but if you're interested, go check out the last video, which is basically all we do is just talk shit on Arkansas. All right, so now you have every single piece of 2x4 cut out for this kicker. In the end, you will need 3 33-inch 2x4s, 2 51.5-inch 2x4s, and 6 3-foot 2x4s. So now that you have all the 2x4s cut out, you need to arrange the 2x4s exactly like this. I'm going to be putting the measurements of each 2x4 up on the screen. All you need to do is match it exactly, and then you'll end up with a 3-foot by 3-foot box. The next step after organizing your 2x4s exactly like I show on screen is to put 2 screws on this side, that side, and then the corresponding sides to make sure that it is sturdy and you can basically write anything off of it. Once you finish your 3-foot by 3-foot square, stand it vertically and then line up the radius that you cut out, and it should perfectly line up with the top of your box. After that, get some drywall screws or just smaller screws than what you use to put the thing together and start screwing it together. So when you're screwing together the piece of plywood onto the 2x4s, you want to put a screw on the top and then position the bottom so that it's flat with the board. So when you're screwing together the plywood to your 2x4s, the first step of doing this is to put a screw right at the top right here. Make sure it is positioned so that you don't have any overlapping right here. And then once you do that, the next step is to go to the bottom and put another screw and then just make sure there's no overlapping on that part too. After you put in your top screw and your bottom screw, the next step is to go along the edge right here and just put maybe 5 more screws or something like that to make sure it's nice and connected. Okay, so we just put the 51.5-inch board up against the piece of plywood, and we made it too long because I forgot to subtract the length of this 2x4. So basically all you need to do here is on these longer boards, just cut off 3.5 inches so that it lines up right there. Sorry about that, guys.
Right at 3.5 inches.
Perfect.
That's how much you're gonna need to cut off.
Of the longer 2x4s.
Yeah.
After you cut out your new 2x4s, you want to position them exactly like this and put a 33-inch 2x4 in between them. Then put 2 screws connecting each other on each side, and then you're done with this part. Alright, so after you put together the second part, what you need to do now is slide it all together. So, if you look down right here, all you do is just push it up, and it should line up perfectly for the frame to be complete. The next step after building the second part of the frame is to screw together the other side of the plywood. We've already shown you this, so we're just gonna slide it on real quick and screw it in, and then we'll cut right back to it. After you get in the second radius, the next step is to secure the bottom part of the frame to the top part of the frame. So the way that we're gonna do that is we're just going to put one screw at an angle right in here, and then a screw at an angle right there on both sides. And the screws that we're using for all of our 2x4 connections are just kind of longer wood screws that you can buy at like Lowe's and stuff. So use those for connecting 2x4s, use the drywall screws for connecting plywood.
Big ass knot right there.
I know. So after you finish connecting both of your frames together with the screw right there, the next step would be grab some more of those drywall screws and start to connect the radius of the ramp to the frame. So it's basically the same thing we did over on this side, going straight down with the screws, but instead we're gonna be going horizontal with the screws. You can put as many as you want. We're probably gonna end up putting like 7 on each side here, just to make sure that it's nice and sturdy. So we're gonna do that. You've already seen it before, so we'll just cut to when we're done with that. Once you finish screwing together your frame to the 3-foot by 3-foot box, the next step is to attach 6 3-foot 2x4s down the center, evenly spaced out by a foot. So if you look over here, we already have 5 of them already on here. They're all spaced out a foot, starting from this one. This one is not a foot because we wanted it to touch our frame to make it more sturdy. And then this one is not spaced out by a foot because we just kind of eyeballed it so that it would touch the ground to make it more sturdy. So what you do when you are putting these 2x4s on is you draw a line on the center of your 2x4 and a line at the 1 foot mark.
Line them up.
You line them up, and then you put 2 screws on each side to secure the entire thing. And the screws that we're using for this, they are the longer ones because we want them to go as deep in the 2x4 as you can. I get like the gnarliest sliver in the world. Yeah, don't do what I just did. You're gonna get a sliver. I'm like addicted to almost getting hurt, man. It's a problem. It's a real problem. I have that problem. Actually, I was diagnosed at a young age with don't give a fuck syndrome. It's actually really hard for me to live like this. If you guys have any tips for me, you can just go right ahead and leave them down in the comments, and I promise I'll read them, and I'll just do my best to get better for you guys.
Or go buy some merch for the Arkansas thing. Those two are definitely not related.
A weapon. This is a weapon. I've killed people with this. Drill gun murders on YouTube. I'm gonna show up.
Okay, so you need to pour hot water on the plywood that you're gonna be bending on your ramp. So right now it's freezing out, so we're just pouring this thing in the grass. I would prefer to do this on the concrete, but no. I need about like 2 to 3 buckets of this. Okay, so after you wet your plywood, what you're gonna wanna do is put it on your ramp. And you're gonna wanna put some weight on it just to kind of get the bend to start forming. What I'm using is a four-wheeler, just like slowly rolling it back on there. What you can do too is put a ratchet strap around it and just kind of ratchet strap it until it gets, you know, sucked up nice and tight to it. There's no way around this really. It's gonna be difficult to get this to form to the ramp. It's just kind of like a little bit of a struggle. Make sure you let this dry before you try to put a screw through it, otherwise it'll sink all the way through it, the screw will.
So, like he said before, just park something heavy on it or throw some weights on it for a day, let it dry, and then come back out here and screw it on. Okay, so the next step after bending your plywood to the radius of your kicker is to mark how long and wide you want your plywood to be. So, in our case, we are making our piece of plywood 6.5 feet long and we're making it 37 inches wide. Yeah, so then you mark it at the 78 inches, line it up with your line. So just push really hard, slowly go across your square. The next step after drawing how long you want your piece of plywood to be is to draw how wide it's going to be, which is 37 inches. Grab your square, make sure to put lots of pressure on it so that when you're drawing your line, it doesn't move. So we're gonna go straight to cutting this and then we'll show you how to screw your board into your kicker.
Okay, so this piece of plywood lengthwise is 6.5 foot and it is 78 inches, and then widthwise it is 37 inches.
All right, so after you cut out your board, the next step is to secure it to your kicker. What we did right here is we got these longer screws and we screwed them into the plywood where it was not bending to the radius of it, so that it would squeeze the board down to our 2x4s. So after you do that and get your board secured to the kicker, you want to grab a T-square and line it up to where the 2x4s are, and then just draw a line all the way across it so that you know where to put your screws at. Sketch out a light line all the way across it so that you know where to screw your screws down. And you need to do this for every single 2x4 that you have screwed into your radius. All right, so after you get your board somewhat secured to the framing of your kicker, you want to go ahead and put, I don't know, 7 to 8 screws on each line that you drew off of the center of each 3-foot 2x4. The plywood was a bit too long, so we had to cut off around 7.5 inches, make sure that it lay completely flat on the ground and it didn't shake all over the place when we went to go hit it. So if you're building this exact thing, cut off 7.5 inches. We're sorry if this video has kind of been all over the place. I messed up on a couple measurements, like everyone does. We're not that great at this, but we're trying, so hopefully everything works out for you guys.
So it's done. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Next week I think we're going to build a little like box jump piece that comes off of it. Hopefully you guys enjoy these type videos. We're going to be doing like more writing videos and stuff like that, kind of like vlogs. We're kind of just cooped up inside with a nice heater in our garage, so we're just making ramps. Once it heats up though, we'll be out there actually getting like some good videos and stuff. Yeah, I hope you guys like this, and I'll see you in the next one.